So there's no way to sugarcoat this. The Calgary market is no longer red hot. Supply is climbing, demand is softening, and buyers are gaining leverage. The stats for September 2025 are out, and total sales across all property types were 1,720 units, while new listings surged to almost 3,800. Inventory now sits at nearly 7,000 units. That's 36% higher than last year and well above long term averages. The sales to new listings ratio is just 45%. So months of supply is climbing to roughly 4 months. This is the highest we've seen since early 2020 before things really started taking off in Calgary. Condos are feeling the most pressure. There were 401 sales, but 924 new listings. This means inventory is piling up. There's nearly 5 months of supply, and prices are coming down about 6% year over year. Detached homes, they're holding out much better, around 750,000. But some districts, especially in the Northeast and East Calgary, well, they're seeing price declines as well. Semi-detached and row houses, they're also experiencing modest price drops. This is not a crash, but really a slow drip. And several factors are contributing to the situation. Mainly, supply is outpacing demand. There have been a wave of new listings that has pushed inventory higher. It's creating more choice for buyers and more competition amongst sellers. And this competition is coming from new builds, from rentals, from the CHMC MLI Select properties. Resale homes are no longer the only options, as record numbers of new builds are being completed and hitting the market. But also, population and migration trends. There have been slowing growth from immigration overall, slower foreign temporary workers, less international students, and fewer interprovincial migration. That's really dampening the demand overall in Calgary. Also, interest rates. Any change could swing affordability and demand, but interest rates would have to drop significantly to really start and ignite that significant buyer demand. There's also buyer expectations in the marketplace. Based on national news coverage, buyers are now starting to expect to see price declines. So they want to wait for a better deal. And this can be a self-fulfilling prophecy unless other catalysts for demand kick in. And mainly, Toronto and the GTA, the real estate market there, is an absolute dumpster fire. Toronto is the worst market I have ever seen, and it's spilling over into the Calgary market because many investors that bought Calgary pre-construction also have investments in Toronto and the GTA. I have seen investors that bought in Toronto in the last 5 years losing $150,000, $200,000, even $500,000 at a luxury condo building in Yorkville. Not to mention, investors are bleeding negative cash flow of over $1,000, $2,000 a month. This could be even more during the occupancy period as well. So as a result, many investors are just simply tapped out. They can't afford to continue. So they're liquidating their real estate portfolios, including in Calgary, at any price to raise cash for their other closings or to stop the cash burn, or simply out of fear. What does this mean for investors? Well, the Calgary condo market is showing cracks. I expect that supply is going to decline modestly through the fall as usual, but it's going to remain elevated, well above levels that we've seen from the last couple of years. This means that Calgary prices are continue to be under pressure, and they're going to decline over the next 6 to 12 months. I'm sorry to tell you this. There's going to be new inventory that continues to hit the market, and the Toronto market is going to worsen. So in Calgary, expect single-digit declines. This is not a crash, okay? And there is a silver lining. After 2026, so after about 12 to 18 months, there is virtually no new pre-construction inventory coming to the Calgary market or even to the Toronto market. And this is going to be the catalyst for real estate market recovery as the market starts to buy up and eat through that inventory. And once people start seeing prices go up month over month, I promise you there's going to be a rush to buy because there is significant buyer demand just waiting to see what happens right now. But if you need to sell, now is the time. Get your property listed today. Otherwise, be prepared to hold for 1 to 2 years for things to recover. So timing the market is impossible, and I know it's scary. But for savvy investors, there are moments when incredible deals appear. And that is right now. I am seeing fantastic opportunities. And long-term returns can be significant if you buy when others are fearful. Go Warren Buffett. Now, let's take a look at the data from each housing type to see what's really happening in the Calgary market. So starting with Calgary condos, well, you can see that sales have continued to decline throughout 2025. Now, this is the trend that you see every year, but it's well below the levels from the last couple of years. New listings, those also continue to be quite high, similar to previous years, but the sales to new listings ratio is much, much lower. Only about 43% of those new listings are actually selling. So this is causing inventory to continue to build up. We're seeing the highest levels that we have seen in over 5 years. And this means that units are taking longer to sell, about 52 days on average, about a month and a half. So months of supply is continuing to build. We're now sitting at about 5 months of supply. That is well into buyer's market territory. And this is impacting the benchmark price. You can see that it has really decreased over the last couple of years. Now, the beginning of the year was 331,000. Now it's 323,000. This is by no means a crash whatsoever. This is really a slow dip. And heading into the Calgary townhomes, very similar trends are playing out. We're seeing lower sales than the last couple of years. New listings are up. Sales to new listings ratio is down. That means inventory is continuing to build. Almost 1,100 townhomes available on the market right now, well above those previous years. That means months of supply is building at about 3.5. This is balanced market territory, but this will likely continue to build as well. And days on market now sitting at 44, quite a bit higher than this time last year. Similar trend is playing out for the benchmark price. You're seeing it slowly declining as that inventory is continuing to build and as buyers are able to negotiate. But again, you're going from 445,000 at the beginning of the year to 437,000 now. No crash whatsoever. In the detached market, this is the best performing market overall, but you're seeing that sales are also quite low compared to the previous years. New listings continue to build, and again, the sales to new listings ratio is down, causing inventory to increase. There's almost 3,200 detached homes available on the Calgary market today, and this has caused months of supply to spike up to 3.7. We're still in balanced market territory, but that is likely going to continue to increase. And it's taking about four to 5 weeks to sell the average detached property. Prices have held up much better here, really flat over the year, starting at 751,000 down to 750,000. That's nothing. What am I doing with my portfolio? Well, I'm not selling the 4 condos I own in Calgary. They're all tenanted. The rent I'm getting is covering all of the monthly expenses, and I'm building equity every month. So even though I think the Calgary market is cooling and prices are going to decline a little bit, I think in 5 years, I am going to be laughing at the cash flow being generated and that I'm going to experience significant appreciation. You simply can't build units in Calgary anymore for the prices today. And Calgary's economic fundamentals are still in place. You have a resilient, high-growth market with great long-term upside. So it's impossible to time the market, and I know it's scary, but there are incredible deals out there for savvy investors willing to buy when others are fearful. However, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. You must be prepared to generate long-term returns over the next 2 to 5 years. So stay informed, stay patient, and get in touch if you need anything, if you need any help refinancing a mortgage, or if you want to take a look at the opportunities to invest, reach out to me today. Bye for now.